So in this video we're going to look at a hip throw. So if you've looked at have a look at the video on Uke Goshi, which is floating hip, and this is the next one along from that. So what we're going to do, so Matthew grab him up here, I'm going to grab him in the sleeve, and what we're going to look at is how to come in for this hip throw. So I'm grabbing the sleeve, elbow to collar, he's grabbing elbow to collar. Okay? And then what I'm going to be looking at is my angles on how I'm going to pull. So this arm is pulling in this direction, this arm's lifting. Okay? And you can see that this pulling and lifting motion is getting him into a position where he's on the balls, so to speak. My feet, so in Uke Goshi we said we want a T shape here, but we want to be slightly off that T shape when we're doing this for a hip throw. So I want to be roughly 45 degrees of feet in between our partner's feet. And my hand wants to drop from a collar grip here around to the back. Okay? I can also kind of start pulling it up onto his shoulder if I want to, just to help me get a little bit of lift here. So my motion will tend to be one, and then I'm going to come in and I'm going to come across. So you can see my feet are at 45 degrees, I'm just dropping my weights. I'm trying to get my belt below Matthew's belt. Okay? So I'm going to go one, and step in. My toes are pointing towards his toes, and I'm going to drop my hand around in the back somewhere, either high or low, doesn't really matter. I'm going to come in and push my hip through. And then the next thing, I'm going to pull this elbow and I'm going to look where I want him to land. So I'm going to look over my shoulder. Okay? So we take our grip. So we're doing what's called benkiranagi. Benkiranagi means to study throws. So Matthew wouldn't stand here like this when we're throwing properly. You know, he might take a fine grip, which is what he's trying to do just now. But we're studying how to throw and the dynamics of the throw. Okay? So at the moment he's going to stand in a position where really he's not fighting. Okay? Because we're trying to study how to throw. And I had a conversation with Mosin a few weeks ago, because he was saying that he was trying to do his hip throws when he's fighting. And I said, well, what were you trying to do? And he showed me. And he was trying to basically show me how to do a proper hip throw. And what you will tend to find is Sentanagi is battlefield throws, Benkiranagi is study throws. So when you do battlefield throws, there's only 3 throws. So either a variation, a combination, or something new based on the principles of the throws you've learned. And so in theory, when you're fighting somebody, you will never do this hip throw. Right? So this hip throw will probably never come off. But you might use the hip throw, and you might use the basis of the hip throw and part of a shoulder throw or a hip throw and some other type of throw to kind of get that working. And so it might be a combination of something, but it's basically using those principles. Here we're trying to study a throw, when we're fighting, as I say, it will be very different. So don't expect to fight somebody and throw a really good hip throw unless you've done loads and loads of practice. And you know how to set them up. Okay, so we're going to start here. Elbow grip, collar grip. Right? Ideally, we want to be on the inside when we're gripping. Okay? And the reason is because if I'm here, so Uke Goshi, which is a hip throw, is really a judo one. But if I grab Matthew here and I grab Matthew here, okay, and he releases my collar, and then he just punches me in the face, yeah, he can do that quite easily, can't he? So this grip is really good when you're doing something where the other person can't strike you. If they can strike you, you want to be on the inside. So now I've got this grip. If Matthew releases and tries to punch me, you can't punch me. Okay? So think about your grip, outside or inside. I don't really mind, to be honest with you. We're going to do outside because everybody does outside. What we also want to do is we want to kind of make sure that this is nice and tight. So when I grip, I want to, so you can kind of see I'm coming halfway up the sleeve. So I want to put finger and thumb together, roll them in, and you can see here when I roll this in, it makes like an envelope. So this allows me to get a good grip, and hopefully what it also allows me to do is not to have loads of baggy sleeve. If it's got lots of baggy sleeve, then what I might do is grip with these 2 fingers, finger and thumb, come around, and I might take a pistol grip. So essentially a pistol grip is when I'm gripping everything in between the fingers here. Right? And this basically just gives me a nice tight grip, so I've got a lot of control there. So if this is loose, I've got all that movement before he starts moving, but if I've got a good grip here, come and go nice and tight, now he moves with my movement. Okay? So, I'm going to step in, my toes pointing to his toes, his legs are apart a little bit, Yeah. If his legs are close together, I wouldn't do this, sorry. Okay, so it's here. I'm going to drop my hand and come round towards the back, either high or low, doesn't really matter. I'm going to step in, my feet are now 45 degrees to where Matthew is. So now as I grip, I push my hip through, look over my shoulder, and he lands where my feet are. So for that, what you also want to think about with the throw is that's a very basic standard way of throwing. However, we could also cause a lot more damage to our partner if we really wanted to. So that's a safe way of doing it, but we also might not want them to land in a good position. So what you need to think about is, so as I come through here and I go to my throw here, an option could be to take my hip away. So instead of my hip being here and me taking in this direction, I just remove my hip. You can kind of see, I've kind of given him a bit of a twist, but he's essentially going to land all his weight through his arm and his shoulder. So he's not going to have a nice landing. It's almost, and what will normally happen when you get to here and you pull that hip out, the person will put their arm down. If you're lucky and they're unlucky, you can kind of bust up the arm quite badly. Now, what we can also do is come in, under, grip, here. So I've got into this position here, but if I drop to my knee here, you can see how he's, again, I've kind of not pushed him onto his back, but you can see how I can then use that throw to break his spine or to cause problems with his kidneys, and use that as a strike into the kidney. So it's a bit, don't do competitions, don't do it messing around. Yeah, this is one of those ones where, again, when we started looking at these self-defense stuff, you might do that because the person's not getting up from that. And again, kind of, we can be quite nasty as well, really nasty here. So here I'm going to come back of the neck, through here, and basically I'm dropping on the back of his neck. Okay. So when you're thinking about throws, we see these a lot from a sport and a judo type context. But what we might also decide is we don't want the person to land on the back and finish the fight off. And you can see, you know, if I drop him in his arm, he busts up his arm, or I drop him on his kidneys, and you know, he's not going to be in a good position on the ground. Gives me a chance to either deal with it on the ground or get away. Okay. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Like I say, if you're going to try those alternate finishes, be really, really careful with them because they will, you know, you can really bust them up really badly. Okay, so I will see you in the next video. If you like the video, please like it. Feel free to comment, and I'll see you later.